Landrover Defenders are great off-road vehicles, but over time they will develop some wear and tear, and it's not uncommon to have these clunking sounds in the back of the Landrover Defender. Whenever you pull up or you throttle down and you throttle up again, you got this little clunk in the back always. You can also feel it when you're driving downhill and then you accelerate again, and then you can actually hear the clunk. When you take off you can hear it, and it's always hard to identify where it is. But in fact, there's only a few places it can be. It's either the rear drive shaft, or the cross joints, or actually the differential itself, or the half shafts that are having a problem. And in this video I'm going to show you on how you can diagnose this. We'll take the car on a road trip, we'll put the camera underneath, and you can see actually when it's moving, and it will be very clear what this problem is very early, because you will see it on the video that I took from underneath the car. But afterwards we take it back to the garage, and we crawl under the car and we do a few more diagnostics exercises, and then finally we'll remove the half shafts as well and inspect them, and potentially we'll have to remove the differential head on this vehicle, because I think that's where the problem is. So stay tuned. I placed the camera under the car and we're having a look at the rear drive shaft where it meets the differential. So let's give it a try. See the clunk? Sometimes it's a bit harder, sometimes it's a bit softer. It depends how fast I do it. So I'll do it again. Now just with So let's go back to the garage and do a thorough check underneath the car on the drive shaft and what is going on with it. I suspect really what I've seen so far is that it's going to be the backlash of the rear differential that will be the issue. So we are under the car now, and this is the drive shaft going to the back of the Defender, and it ends up on the differential. You see the cross joints here? And you need to check that they don't have any play or worn out or not worn out, and you can do this by just moving it and shaking it, and that looks good. Both up and down, and you do the same thing at the other side where it attaches to the transfer box where the spline is, and nothing should be moving. Now you can try to rotate it. Now remember, the car is now in gear, right? So I placed the gearbox in first gear, and I have a bit of play, as you can see. Not much, but you need to have a bit of play. Now I think this play is not coming from the differential, but it's mainly limiting the play in the transfer box, and that looks okay. If I look at that, I mean, you can put your finger on it and see how much play that gives you. I mean, this is okay. Now we'll do the same thing but in neutral. So with the car in neutral, we'll do exactly the same thing, but please block the wheels so you don't get run over by your own car. Alright, so let's have a look. We're gonna rotate. Now look at the play now. I mean, that's quite a lot of play, isn't it? And you can actually hear the sound. You need to do a couple more checks. We'll have to remove the half shafts on the wheels, and then we'll have a look. But before doing so, we need to drain the oil out of the differential. The oil looks like pretty nice and clean, so I'm not too impressed about the seal here. It looks like they've put some silicone thing up, so it means they have worked on this differential before. Now that could explain also why we have this clunking. Maybe they tried to fix it before and it didn't work out. Anyhow, next step is to remove the half shafts. Replace the car on a stand, and both wheels are free from the ground. And I'm going to turn them slightly and see what happens, and the wheel on the other side should actually rotate in the counter direction, as you can see. So that at least is a good sign. However, listen to the sound. That doesn't sound too good, does it? I don't know what it is. And I think that's exactly the sound I'm having when we are driving the car. So maybe we are lucky and it's just the half shafts that are faulty. So let's remove the wheel and take the half shafts out. So those are the 5 bolts that you need to undo and are holding the half shafts in place. Releasing the half shaft bolts can be a bit tough because the car is from the ground and both wheels are free, so they will start to spin and rotate, so you will need to block a wheel. Now I'm using a metal bar and I carefully place it in between the 2 studs like so, and the other side is on the ground, so I have it blocked, and now I should be able to remove that fairly easily. So we removed the bolts, so let's take them out. And the next thing to do is basically to take the dust cap off. You don't have to, but I always do. There we go. That can go on the side. So now I will need my glasses. You will see that there is a circlip here. Now sometimes you need to undo it and sometimes you don't, but you don't always have to. So I will undo it anyhow. There we go. And now with a little bit of soft hammering, you should be able to remove the part. So that's the top part. Oh, that doesn't look good at all. This is really bad. It looks like, I don't know, this is really not good. I'm not sure what that is. It's a kind of rust and water, I don't know. Anyhow, so now let's take out the half shaft, and that you just should be able to pull it out like this. There we go. So that's the half shaft, guys. And I'll check it in a few minutes and see how good or how bad it is. So this is the part we removed, and to be honest, that doesn't look too good, does it? I don't know what that is. It's kind of old grease, but it looks a bit rusty. So we'll have to clean that out, and I will need to check actually the spine inside here, how good that is, and we also check it then on the half shaft. So this is the half drive shaft, this is the side of the wheels, and you can actually see how badly worn that is. I mean, this is really no longer any good. The same thing is true on this part. It looks also worn out. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see that the splines are no longer properly shaped the way they should be. I'm just going to put it up so you can actually see it. So here it is. Normally it sits about this deep, but you can actually see the play on it. And that's certainly not good, and that's just a matter of time before that really is going to go wrong. So I have 2 parts to be replaced. The half shaft and the front part of the drive shaft that's mounted on the wheel hub. That's one thing. Now let's check the other side, and I assume it's going to be exactly the same. So the next thing is to unbolt the drive shaft from the differential. And the last thing is to remove the drive shaft. Hold it with one hand, because these things, you don't want them to fall on your head. There we go, and we place it on the side. So the next thing we need to do is to remove the differential from the rear axle, and therefore we need to undo all these little nuts here. So that will take a little bit of time, and I'm not going to waste your time, so let me get on with it, and then I show you how we're going to take this part off. We have removed all the nuts, so now we are basically ready to remove the differential. So you need to wiggle a bit. And support it well, because that's a heavy thing. There we go. So here it is, the differential, and this is the crown wheel, and looking at it, I don't see, well, there's a bit of wear and tear on it, but it's not as bad as I thought it would have been. So far we diagnosed that the half shafts were having quite some wear and tear on the edges where the flanges connect to the half shafts. We haven't been able to identify if the diff was still alright or not, and this is what we're going to do now. I mounted the diff on a table or any bench, you can use whatever you want, but make sure it's solid, and then I mounted the half shafts into the differential. We placed them level, and then I blocked them with some pieces of wood so they cannot turn. It's like the car would be on solid ground. And now you can basically try to turn the flange where normally the drive shaft connects to, and see if you have play on that flange. And I'm going to do this right now, so you need to watch the crown wheel, because the crown wheel here is driven by a pinion inside, and the pinion is connected to the flange that normally goes to the drive shaft. So let's have a look. I mean, if you look at that, there is minimum play, and in fact the play I'm having is most likely caused by the play or the worn out splines that I have on the half shafts that are inside the diff. So, but this is good. I mean, this is basically no play. If I was to hold on tight to the crown wheel, then I basically can't really turn the flange that connects to the drive shaft. So basically, we can say that nothing is wrong with the diff at this moment in time, and we also know that it didn't make any funny noises, and that the oil that came out of it was pretty much intact, so there is very little reason why we should actually change it. So now the next thing we'll do is I'm going to put back the flanges on the edges now, and we redo the whole test again, and then we should see the backlash play on the diff. So this is the next test. I reconnected the flanges on the end of the half shafts, and I blocked one on this side, and the other one I will hold with my hand. I can also block it with some spanners, but that's okay. But you need to block them both. And then let's have a look how much play we get on the crown wheel here or on the flange, which is going to the drive shaft. So here we go. See how much play that is? That's a lot of play. You can see the crown wheel is moving really a lot. And that's exactly the play I'm having on the vehicle. So I know that the diff is in good condition, and that the only problem is really the half shafts that need to be replaced.